I'm Dia Wall with 41 Action News, and thank you for joining us for a New Year Town Hall on crime in Kansas City. We're joined by Jackson County Prosecutor Jean Peters Baker, Kansas City Police Chief Rick Smith, and Kansas City Mayor Quinton Lucas. Thank you all for being here. In 2020, Kansas City, Missouri saw 176 homicides, more than 600 non-fatal shootings. 4-year-old Legend Talaferro was shot and killed, prompting a federal effort to get violent crime under control, starting right here in our city. After a record-breaking year in terms of crime, Chief Smith, I'd like to start with you. First, how is your department holding up?
I think we're holding up pretty well. It's been a rough year. On top of a crime issue, we've had a pandemic. There's been a lot of changes in law enforcement this year. Our incidents on the plaza, there's been all kinds of things that happen. But I will tell you, the men and women of this department are as committed now as they ever have been to help this city and to be there for their needs.
I'd like to turn to Prosecutor Baker next. The cases police are investigating end up in your office. How are you managing the caseload from 2020 alone?
We're not different than anybody else around the globe. We're all in this together, and so my office is feeling the impact as everyone else. We've had not just the pandemic, but a higher number of cases submitted to us this year that we have filed. So that's really not different than anybody else. But I think what we've done this year, and what I have done specifically this year, is made sure that we did not engage in finger pointing, that we looked at what we could do internally. We analyzed ourselves. We layered in racial disparity into the work that we do. And my goal through 2020 and again in 2021 is to be very self-critical, look at what we do and how can we deliver a better product to the public.
Mayor Lucas, what was it like leading this city in a year of historic crime? Talk to me about the lessons learned.
Well, it was challenging, to say the least. But I first of all want to start by expressing my condolences both to the prosecutor, who I know lost an assistant prosecutor in her office to COVID-19, and all those in Kansas City who are still dealing with the pandemic and whose families and lives have been touched. In terms of addressing violent crime this year, as we've addressed every other challenge, it is something where you get up each day, you try to see how you can improve. We are all working together to address these issues, and we're trying to listen to the public and understand where we can do better in each neighborhood, in each incident, for each family. So I don't know if leading Kansas City this year is leading differently than any other year. But what we continue to do is stay committed to seeing that we change. One thing that we will not do, that I will not do, is give up on our community. And we'll never get used to this level of violent crime. That's how we continue to show up, work hard, fight hard, and try to recognize that it takes all tools, prevention, intervention, enforcement, and reform, to make sure we're addressing our crime issues long term.
Chief Smith, I'd love to ask you the same question. Any lessons learned last year?
Oh yes, yeah, absolutely. One of the things that Operation Legend brought to us is the coordination with all the agency involved in the criminal justice system, that we all need to be working on the same page of music. And I think we've all learned that this violent crime issue, that it affects everybody. It just doesn't affect mayors and prosecutors and police chiefs and police departments. It affects churches, schools, all sorts of entities, families, friends, neighbors. And so I think to Jean's point that we all need to come together to make a significant impact. And we've learned that when we collaborate and we get these people all at the table to talk about the issues that we face and how we can work towards them, it's making a difference.
Prosecutor Baker, your team pulled together some data on violent crime here in Kansas City. What did it show, and how is your office using that information to create new policies and procedures?
Thanks for that question. We worked hard this past year also on gathering data and intelligence so that we could also be accountable to the public and reporting out where we are and where we stand with the violence that has occurred. what amount of that violence has been solved and submitted to my office, and beyond that, what have I done with those cases when they get to me. That being said, one of the critical areas that I saw in that data, the biggest hole was the victims that never get to come to the building that I'm sitting in. They never get a chance to get a courtroom because the case is not solved, and so they're just left to grapple on their own. That cannot be the way we handle crime victims in this city. So when we can't do it through a law enforcement angle to get a case to justice, we have to find ways to repair the harm that has happened in community anyway. And so it's been important to me to focus on programming through combat, programs like Combat Rise, caring for crime survivors, so that we can get services to people who are experiencing trauma right now and address that trauma right now.
Mayor Lucas, your office rolled out a new strategic plan on addressing crime. Could you give us a brief overview of that plan and share how this is different than efforts in the past, because there have been a lot of efforts before?
I think I'll start that answer by not critiquing the efforts of the past. I think everything that we've done actually builds on each other. From the No Violence Alliance, and I know that the prosecutor and the police chief have worked on that previously, to other programs. What we're trying to do now is be informed by what we've done in the past, how we can do better, and how we can improve. My office has rolled out what's called the Reform Project. It's based on a public safety partnership with the Department of Justice, the prosecutor's office, the police department, my own office, the health department, and many more, and community organizations. It speaks to prevention, intervention, enforcement, and reform, recognizing that this is not just an enforcement question. It's not just about arresting your way out of these sorts of problems. You need to make sure that you're working with young people, you're working with families, you're working to stop the tide of retaliation, and you're looking to help people with things like re-entry into our community, helping people with understanding ways to de-escalate conflicts, and importantly, making sure that we're all working in concert as we do it. I know myself and the City Council have had great interest in how can we help these issues. We're not a police department, we're not a prosecutor's office, but we're the folks that make sure that we have good laws, that we're being fair in our enforcement of some of those laws, and where we don't need to enforce as much. For example, with marijuana enforcement, which we've taken out of the criminal code in the city, we've said that we're not going to have that on our ordinance books anymore. We need to make sure that we're continuing to try to invest in and improve our neighborhoods, creating more job opportunities. Those are the sorts of things where we can help support the other folks that are on this program, and letting people know that there are positive opportunities in Kansas City. There are alternatives to violent crime. There are ways that we can help you, and that's what we're going to continue to invest in more. Even with budget challenges, we think that sort of work is vital.
Chief Smith, 2020 brought forth a lot of change for the Kansas City Police, body cameras, even adding detectives to homicide units in the department. What changes have you made to help bring violent crime under control?
Well, yeah, I think you mentioned two of the big ones. I brought a body camera today so we could show the public we've taken our first shipment of 340 of our body cameras, and they're starting to be deployed across 2 zones right now. We get our next shipment shortly after board acceptance, hopefully next week. So there has been a lot of changes. You know, we got the Missouri Highway Patrol to conduct independent investigations on our police shootings. And so we are working towards things that we heard from the public over this summer about what they wanted. And I think the idea is we want to create an environment where people understand why we're doing what we're doing and how we're doing it.
My next question is for all of you. I'll start with Mayor Lucas. Where does responsibility lie for making Kansas City more safe?
All of us. I take my responsibility very seriously. I told your station, I believe I told you, Dia, that this year's homicide number was a great personal and professional failure to me. And so I'm here every day in my office through this pandemic, trying to find a way we can make our community safer. I'm from Kansas City. In my lifetime, probably about more than 4,000 people have been murdered in Kansas City. That needs to change, and I want 2021 to be the year where it does change.
Chief Smith, same question for you.
Yeah, I agree. Everyone, as I mentioned, that this problem is not going to solve without everyone's engagement. You know, during the pandemic, we saw a lot of the social services and things that people could turn to for help and support for all kinds of reasons, right? A lot of that fell by the wayside. I mean, a lot of people were not engaged with other people for fear of the pandemic. And I do think it kind of created the environment where violent crime was allowed to take a better foothold than it normally would have. And so I think what we're seeing is we need all of those partners, all of the community, the social services, the criminal justice system. We need it all to work together to tackle this issue. But most of all, we need strong communities. We need strong neighborhoods. I say this repeatedly, that strong neighborhoods have less crime. And when people know each other and people actually know each other's name, they're less likely to act out in a violent manner. We need to get back to that good association and building those relationships.
Ms. Baker, to you, where does that responsibility for bringing crime under control in our community lie?
To the people that have been entrusted with the responsibility to do it. So that is not on the neighborhoods, it's on us, it's on the three of us on this call, among others, but most importantly the three of us. Because we have been given power and authority to carry out this particular role. And so we need a plan. You can't, we should not be surprised that 2021 will be a violent year if we go through another year without a plan that really tackles violence. It's that simple. We need a plan. And there are good, solid academic plans out there that we could grab a hold of and institute.
Obviously, you all are three different individuals, all trying to tackle this problem from different vantage points. You all have your differences, right? But what I would like to know, and I'm sure what a lot of folks at home watching would want to know, is how do you guys take steps to work together? Mayor Lucas?
You keep trying to work together every day. I mean, look, here's the thing. We are all put here into these positions either through a public process or the chief through appointment from the board. And it doesn't matter what someone thinks about anybody else any given day, because we've got people dying on the streets, we've got cases that need to be prosecuted, we've got people that need to be arrested, we've got programs and funds we need to support. That's what's most important. And so, look, you do what anybody does in the world. You pick up the phone, you talk, you meet in person if you need to, and you keep saying, hey, we're all going to work together to get to the same goal. Because I don't actually care about the politics. I don't think anyone else on this program does. We care about making this community safer. And when I'm done being mayor, whenever that comes, I want us to be able to say, we've brought the number of homicides down, the number of non-fatal shootings, we found justice for families, and we have a safer Kansas City.
Ms. Baker, same question to you. I mean, how can people really have faith that you guys are doing everything you can to work together and tackle this problem?
Yeah, I think I've said this before, I'll say it again today. I'll work with anyone, anytime, to address violence, period. Nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. And I spend most of my time with people who have been racked by violent crime. They've been harmed by it, they're scarred by it, and they want this to work. And so my commitment to them is I will work with anyone that is sent to me. Anyone that is in a position of power, they will be my partner, because that's what I owe the public.
Chief Smith, what about you?
Yeah, it's a good question. Every week in this department, you know, we meet with various agencies, including the Jackson County Prosecutor's Office, to talk about violent crime that happens in this city. So we coordinate weekly. We coordinate overall. Of course, Gene, the mayor, and myself, we all sit on the NOVA board, and we coordinate through efforts on that, which we're working to look at how we can do better there. So I would say the coordination and the discussion between us is ongoing, as it should be, and we're always looking for the best outcome that we can get for our efforts.
Chief, I know with you being at the helm of the Kansas City Police Department, there's a lot of folks in our community who want to know how they can support you guys, right? Investigating all of the homicides, responding to all of the shootings has to be taking a toll compounded by the pandemic, right? So how can the community step up to support you guys?
Yeah, that's great. You know, I think this summer when things open up and we get back to having meetings and engagement, we would like to see the community. We'd like to interact with them. We'd like to talk about how they feel and what they see as is important in their neighborhoods and what's going on. Other support, I'm very happy, even in a record year of homicides, we, I think, posted a 73% clearance rate this year. That didn't come out without cooperation from the citizens we work with every day. So I would ask for continued cooperation in that realm also, when there is a crime that people are stepping up. So I think together we can make a difference. We just need more engagement and more of that, which we're working on.
If anyone in our community right now is watching and they say, hey, I want to be part of the solution, I want to get engaged, what are some steps that they can take? Jean?
So I started a community advisory board, and I'd like to broaden that concept. So I'd like to have people that would like to be engaged in that way. So they can call me, call my office, email me. I'm pretty accessible, so you can find me. And I'd like to hear from you, because if you care about this place, you care about the work that we do, and you think you can help us do a better job, then we want to lean on you to do that, because I do think community has a lot of the answers.
Chief Smith, same question to you. If folks are watching at home and they say, I want to get involved, I want to be part of a solution, how can they help?
Yeah, it's a great question. All of our community interaction officers at each division station, we have 6 of them across the city. I would ask you reach out to them to get involved with our events. We are always looking for volunteers to help us with youth stuff. PAL, our Police Athletic League, we have a Youth Police Initiative. We have all kinds of areas where people can get involved and help with our community and bridge that gap between the police department and the community.
Mayor Lucas, same question to you.
There are so many things, but I think I would start with something that you as an individual can do, and that is to not give up hope, to not give up on your neighborhood, to not think that things can't change. So to make sure if you see something that is bothering you in your community, then call the police. If you're uncomfortable calling the police, then call the prosecutor's office, call my office. We're happy to talk to you. We're happy to work with you. I think I would say also that we have a health department that's unveiled a blueprint for violence to help fight violent crime in different ways. And so get involved in those community initiatives that are near you. Everything matters. And you may not know, but I think the way I'm sitting in front of you today is that somebody cared about me going to a public library in 1992. Right? These are the sorts of things, mentor, help, and we have lots of programs at Kansas City. Hire KC Youth is funded out of the mayor's office. There are so many others. So just call, email, get involved. I've given out my cell phone number before too. I won't do it again, but look us up, and all of us are happy to work with you.
Well, I'd like to give each of you some time to share what your message is for our community right now. No secret that 2020 was a hard year, just witnessing everything that happened in terms of violent crime. So what gives you hope for 2021, Chief?
Oh, I have a lot of hope. I think things are going in the right direction. Our homicide trend is way down compared to where it was. After Operation Legend, we have seen a steady decrease in the trend in the amount of homicides. I'm very encouraged by that. I don't think we're seeing the exact same trend in our non-fatal shootings, but we are seeing trends in the right direction. I look forward to 2021 and getting out and talking to people and seeing their engagement and what other people want to do, like you say, to support the police department and to support the city overall. I look forward to it.
Ms. Baker, same question for you. What gives you hope? What are your hopes for 2021?
What gives me hope is people, and Kansas City and Jackson County is filled with really wonderful, giving people. So they're resilient and they're strong, and they simply need good leadership. So that is my hope, that I can lean on them and they'll lean on me throughout 2021.
Mayor Lucas, I will give the final word on this very subject to you. You know, 2020 started with celebration in this city when the Chiefs win the Super Bowl, right? And then the pandemic comes, and then we're looking at record violent crime, record homicides in the city. And so what is your message? What gives you hope for 2021?
That fewer people, particularly fewer young people, pick up firearms to resolve conflicts and resolve problems. That we're able to be healthier and safer this year. That we're able to put people in jobs. That we're able to change a lot of these trends that have been challenging our community for decades, generations, but that we finally say in 2021, this is when it stopped. This is when the tide was turned. This is when we saw Kansas City really say, hey, everybody in every neighborhood deserves the chance to be safe. So that's why I'm optimistic, and I think we can do better, and we will do better in 2021.
Well, I want to say a huge thank you to Jackson County Prosecutor Jean Peters Baker, Kansas City Police Chief Rick Smith, and Kansas City Mayor Quinton Lucas for joining us for our New Year Town Hall on Crime.